Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Sisu Moi TV. I'm Alexandra. I'm one of our founders of Sisu Moi. And today we are going to be featuring Miss Nastasia Marie. Welcome, Nastasia.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
I know we're both so excited here. It's kind of
both are. Compose yourself.
I know. So Nastasia and I, for those that don't know, we actually met in real life, not on an app, not in some weird tech situation. Prior to COVID, I met this beautiful woman at the Fells Point Festival, and I bought these amazing earrings from her.
Thank you.
Through that introduction, I learned about her by following her at The Art of Intuition on Instagram and the Promote Peace Shop. And this lady is amazing. So she is a mother. She's a serial entrepreneur. She owns the Promote Peace Shop, which is all about crystal healing energy and just beautiful vibes, does beautiful shows throughout the week, which are so fun to attend. And she also owns a business called The Art of Intuition, which we're going to be featuring today. And last but not least, she's also a best-selling author, which we'll talk about today. So we wanted to bring Sisu Moi in touch with Miss Nastasia because she is a Sisu leader. I have learned a little bit about her story through her best-selling book right now, which is Women Who Rise. But 30 Stories to Inspire, definitely check that out. But today, I just wanted to introduce this wonderful woman, hear her background, and hear a little bit about her Sisu story and some of her wisdoms that make her a Sisu leader. So welcome again, Nastasia. If you could just tell us a little bit about you, your background, and kind of where you are today and how you have channeled your Sisu to rise above. That would be so exciting to hear about.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to sit here with you, and just like you're so poised, and I'm just like, oh, so official. I love this. I love this.
My God.
I love that we're still aligned, because that's when we met at the festival. We really didn't know that we'd be sitting here in the future doing this together. I didn't know, right? So it's just how like these timelines kind of just all are building blocks to like future events. It's so interesting.
Me too.
So yes, my name's Nastasia Marie. A couple years ago, I had this groundbreaking moment, and I realized that my life was a collective of conditions and programs that actually didn't really fit me. I was in a really, really dark place. I was probably in the worst situation of my life. I had my breakthrough moment where I had found myself on my knees, basically holding I'm a mother. I had my child in my arms and was just like, what is going on? Like, life was very heavy for me, and I did not see a way out. So what happened was I think I surrendered so hard that I had no other option than to see something greater than myself. And I think that's actually what happened, finding myself surrendering to something greater than myself and believing without evidence that there was a greater life for me. So I couldn't physically see it right there, but I just believed, and I had trust, and I surrendered. And within that moment of surrendering, I just really opened myself up to seeing through a lens that I had never even seen before.
Yeah.
And then I just kept on following that feeling. I kept on following that intuition. I kept on following that vision. I kept on trusting without evidence so much that doing that kept on compounding over and over and over. And then I just really started to create a life that like kind of, I used to think only existed for them. That was the illusion I was under, that these kind of things couldn't exist for me. So that's kind of how my story kind of transcended into me showing up in the world the way that I do today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing. For those that have not read this book, Women Who Rise is so inspiring. And Nastasia does touch on this moment that she's referencing in the book. And it's a really big moment, you know, and from my little interaction at that point with you, with watching you thrive on Instagram and giving these beautiful wisdoms away to people and just being real with people and emulating happiness and love, you would have never known. And, you know, we all go through things. And, you know, I'm curious, Nastasia, if you can kind of tell us a little bit about, like, because when I met you, what you describe is not at all how you came off, I would have had no idea. I was just like, look at this beautiful woman believing in herself, making this beautiful jewelry. She's so positive and happy. She has all these beautiful crystals to help us all be our best selves. And then I read this book and I'm like, oh my God, well, look at her now. So there was so much I didn't know, but I'm curious, like, can you share a little bit about, why do you think that happens? Why do we get so off base, and how did you know that you were totally not in alignment with your best optimal path?
Oh, wow. This question is just making me feel so emotional, and I'm so happy that it came up because I don't think it's ever come up before. So this is new for me, but I'm excited to share.
Oh.
So I think what happened was my body was communicating with me that something was not right in my life. I wasn't living my authentic truth.
Yeah.
I wasn't with the person I was supposed to be with. I was in a very toxic relationship, and I was fighting so hard to stay in it because I was so consumed in making people happy and not making myself happy. And I was like, didn't want to disappoint my family, and I didn't want to be wrong, and I didn't want to disappoint myself. And I wanted my child to be happy with me. And just didn't want her to I just didn't want her to be upset with me for leaving the situation I was in, and leaving, I was her father. And I realized my body, everything. I think maybe not where you and I were at, but I would see like card readers or tarot readers. And I was never really into that. And the situation kept on happening to me over and over and over again, where everywhere I was at. This happened 3 times in a row. And I was just like, I've never pulled cards before. And the woman would be like, okay, well, just pull one and let's just see what happens. She was like, you don't even have to ask me the question. Just ask it to yourself. This situation happened 3 times. 3 times in a row, I found a random person that was reading cards. They handed me a card. I pulled a card. And the question I asked myself is, am I going to be okay if I leave this situation? Because I thought that something very bad was going to happen to me if I left the situation I was in.
Yeah.
And every single time, out of, I don't know how many cards are in a tarot deck or one of those spiritual guidance decks, every single time I picked the card trust. The 3rd time I picked this card, I dropped to my knees and I was just like, how much more evidence do I need to get out of this?
Yeah.
It was like, I realized then that there's a team of whatever you want to call it, spirit guide, source, whatever it is surrounding me, giving me answers every time I ask for them. And I don't have to do it alone. So that's what happened. I just realized that I'm trying to do all this on my own. And there is like a team working for me in my best interest for the highest good. And if I just ask, the answers will be revealed to me, but I have to be open to receive them.
Yeah.
And I could ask all the time, the same answer is going to come up. Same thing. It happened 3 times. The second time I wasn't ready. The first time I wasn't ready. It was that 3rd time that hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was just like, okay, you don't have a choice anymore. You have to leave. You have to get out of the situation. And ever since then, I mean, I can't even tell you the way my life's transformed. It doesn't even make sense logically. It's unreasonable how fast it's transformed.
It really is, because I've seen your transformation on the Art of Intuition, and even your posts and your comments and your vulnerability. And, I didn't know you that long, so I didn't know how it may have looked before, but you reference the changes. You show the changes in what you're doing now. Now, this is quantum communications, it says. So is this like the secret that you're doing, Nastasia? What are the wisdoms that you're tapping into? What do we need to know about so that we can all listen and trust within when we're having moments like that?
Yeah. So right now, as I teach and I have clients and we work on quantum communication. So this is all about manifestation. And a lot of people think that manifestation is kind of like this new age, and it kind of could be, stem from like a woo-woo kind of paradigm philosophy, but it's really actually scientific based, and it's merging with spirituality. So really what it is, it's communicating with this infinite, invisible field of energy through your own thoughts, belief patterns, and your own energy to start actually materializing physical experiences into your life, through your belief systems, through your subconscious belief systems, through your what I like to call is your energetic signature. It's what actually, signals out what you're an energetic match for.
Yeah.
So we do this through a whole bunch of things. And I would say the number one thing is trusting. trusting that what you actually desire actually is available for you, because in the quantum field, there's only abundance. There's infinite realities. There's infinite possibilities. Anything that you could actually ever want to do or be exists for you. You just have to wake up to that version of you. And that's all it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved that you said in the book was, I mean, obviously after that third tarot card, you started trusting yourself. And, you know, that is a totally different way of living and trusting in God or source or whatever above, whatever it is to you. And, you know, you said at one point, I think you said, and I don't have the exact quote, but forgive me, but it was something about, I unapologetically walked away from all of these things that no longer represented like the best of what my goals were for myself.
Yeah.
You basically fell in love with your true essence. And you said, I wasn't interested in sharing her with anybody yet. I wasn't ready.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. I loved that because, you know, it is through breakdown does come breakthrough. And you mentioned reaching rock bottom and trusting. And, you know, I just thought that was so beautiful because people are always looking outward for their person, when how great is it to like really know who you are and honor that time with yourself, you know?
Yes. Wow. It's so crazy that you just said that, because today, you know, like on your Facebook, it'll pop up with a memory of things that you wrote or something. And there's something that I wrote a year ago today. And it was like, so many people are out here trying to find somebody else when the real person they should be trying to find is themselves. Because when you find yourself, you know what you actually want, you know who you actually are. And then when those people do come into your reality and you're dating or you're finding your significant other, you can tell by feeling, is this person for me or not? And the more you know yourself, the more that you can have a greater awareness when someone energetically, you'll feel it. It's not a thought, it's a feeling. Yeah. That person matches me, that person doesn't. When you don't know yourself, it's really hard to find out, is this person just a mirror for like my trauma? Do we just have like a trauma bond? Do we just have like some past coding that's the kind of the same? Or is this like my person?
Right.
Like, we can figure that out when we know ourselves better. You know, we can understand ourselves.
I think, and it's so cool because like I saw you flourishing like in your element. So even when you were going through that, you know, I don't know exactly the timeline of where it was, but you had found your creativity and your healing capabilities and communicating with people and getting excited for them on their spiritual journey. So you tapped into that. And now it's really interesting more than ever because I think people are lost, you know, they've never had to stop and really be alone with themselves. And the opportunity to do that is there, and it can be hard, and you will need to channel some Sisu to rise above it sometime.
Totally.
You always like what you find. What was that?
I said you need Sisu for this.
Yes, you do. Well, you were talking about, it's so true. You were talking about journaling.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually was so glad you mentioned that because I started journaling 2 days ago. And it's amazing. Once you stop, like all that talking to all these random people about what are your thoughts about this and that, the answers are all within you, you know? So I think, you know, you're in a position where you are inspiring others. You know, what are some of you said that like you get chills and things. Are there signs when you know you're on the right path or you're connecting with somebody that is sharing something with you that is something that you need to hear? Like, are there tips or tools or what can people look out for? Because I think a lot of people don't really know what to look out for.
I think a lot of people, when they think about their intuition, they think that it's going to come through as like, something's going to come down and say, hey, don't do that. Hey, go ahead, make it right, make it left. But it's really not that. It's really, so intuition and knowing when something's right for you is a feeling, and it's basically like a muscle. So don't get discouraged when right away you're like, I'm not feeling it. I have no idea what's happening. I can't tell because my thoughts and my feelings are so chaotic that I actually can't decipher what I'm supposed to do or what I'm not supposed to do. I think that was probably my biggest lesson, was like not getting discouraged and giving myself grace and knowing that with anything, it's going to take some time. But what I started doing is I started journaling a lot, getting my thoughts out on paper. I started doing a lot of meditation. And when I say meditation, I don't mean I was just sitting in my room for like multiple, like maybe 10, 15 minutes, just meditating and like watching a video. I try to make every single thing a meditation. That way I was closing out the chaos of my mind. When I was taking a shower, I was being mindful and present with just washing my hair, doing the dishes, just doing that dish, and not doing that dish, but also being in a couple different areas than thinking about the past, present, the future, because those things actually don't exist. It's just an illusion of our mind. So when we're not focused on the present moment, we're actually robbing ourselves from all the all the messages that we can actually receive. But it's really a feeling. So when you come across somebody and you come across a piece of truth, and it's a feeling of just like a really nice deep sigh, and you just feel like there's no resistance, that's when you know that you're aligned with something or someone or some experience, that there's a message here for me. And if I can just feel into it, for me, it's like, for me, it doesn't feel like anything but just air. It's just like, this just feels like breath, like that's all there is in this moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that you can breathe, and the resistance part for sure, because I think, there's a lot of times like where you're just not, people are trying to force things that are just not, and it's okay. They're just not naturally going to work together.
Sure. Could you imagine if we were, and what I like to call these things are energetic matches. So it's like when things aren't in energetic matches, you can feel it because your body is so resistant to be in this person's space, to be in this person's energy field, to be in a building or anywhere. You're like, this just is, there's something here that is just not for me. But when you have that and you're around someone and you just know that there's flow and there's ease and there's breath and there's just like, it's just so cohesive. There's harmony. You're forgetting about the world because all that exists is that now. And that's kind of how your intuition kind of communicates with you. It's very, very clean energy that's coming through. It's not going to be chaotic.
Yeah, I love that. Clean energy. And I've heard you say, I get chills, when something really resonates with you.
Oh, yeah.
That's same with me. Like that
definitely happens a lot too. And I'm like, I know this is about to happen where it's happening.
It could be like a happiness chill, or it can be like, oh, this is big, and I think there have been a couple moments in my life where I have met people and it was kind of like tunnel vision, that this is supposed to happen right here and right now. And I think with COVID, as challenging and as hard and heartbreaking as it's also been a time to force that presence that you're talking about.
I agree with you.
I think, I'm curious, like, did you have that presence and then you lost it thinking that you should be doing this or that, and then you had to find it again? Or was it a higher level of presence that you had to uncover?
It was a higher level of presence because I think that's kind of the evolution of the human mind. Is I may think I have it right now, but there's so many different layers to this. I may think I'm doing all the things, but then next year is going to come and I'm like, oh my God, I was so closed, And I think that's what happened. Is I thought I was awake to the world, but as I grew and evolved and I realized I wouldn't have allowed the things in my life to happen to me or to be in my world if I was fully present, because presence comes with a knowing. And when you're present, you can communicate with yourself a little bit more clearer. I wasn't present. There was many parts of me that were asleep. Because someone that is fully embodied in their authenticity and love for themselves, they don't allow things that have negativity or harm into their life. You know what I mean? There's a reason for those things. Why? So that's actually why I decided to unapologetically cut myself off from the world, because I wanted to find out, what was it about me, not about the other person or my other friends or the other experience. What was it about me that was an energetic match for these kind of really low vibrational situations in my life. Cause I was like, all right, I can point the finger at him, at her, but like, hold on. What? I'm the one, I also arrived here too. I'm the first cause. I'm first cause. Everything is in effect because of how I show up.
Yeah.
So how was I showing up? And I just wasn't being real with myself, and I wasn't being observant. I wasn't being present. I wasn't really seeing through my real, through my eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
It's crazy because I think you said something the other day on Instagram about, if I could manifest all these bad things passively, I still can manifest amazingness on purpose, and actively. So is quantum communications, it's kind of sounds like the scientific version of The Secret. Is that like, is there something?
So. Yeah. Yeah, I think it breaks down The Secret a little bit more. So the law of attraction. So understanding like everything is vibrational, but in quantum physics, basically there is infinite outcomes and there is only abundance. There isn't any fear. There isn't any lack.
Mm-hmm.
Fear and lack isn't a property of the quantum field. It's not a property of quantum physics. There's only abundance. It's actually only a property of our human mind. So if I can get away from my mind and get back into spirit, then I can understand that everything I actually desire is available for me. And the things that I was manifesting that really actually didn't serve me, I was actually manifesting them. I just wasn't conscious to it. And I think what happens now is when you can be conscious of your energy and conscious of the fact that you actually are the creator of your life, what happens is you're able to, I like to call this collapse time, right? So something that would typically take 5 to 10 years, because I'm so observant and I'm so conscious of the way that I'm interacting with this infinite field, with everyone around me, I'm able to spend this time. So something that was taking 5 years now takes me 1 year instead of having to take that long, because I'm so conscious of the way that I'm showing up in the world. So yeah, that's actually what quantum communication looks like to me, is communicating with something outside of myself that has the greatest interest of, my highest good. So and we all have access to it. It's nothing that I have. It's like no one's exiled from these laws. I mean, everyone has access to this.
That's amazing. I mean, since you've been practicing it and working with clients, I mean, what inspires you as you're connecting with people through quantum communications?
What inspires me is how fast people can really tap into this co-creative power that they have, and how like they think that like, oh, this isn't for me, but like you just show them a couple little pieces of framework they can integrate in their life, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that me just trusting, me giving up resistance, me just having certainty and clarity, because like with all of these things, everything has a vibration. So if I'm teaching them about having like the utmost certainty, knowing that what you're asking for, you will receive, there's no resistance attached to certainty. Because if I know something's going to happen, I can just ask for it, walk away from it, and not have to keep on checking in on it. And when I check in on it, that means that I'm kind of pulling the plug energetically from it. It's because I kind of don't believe it. So I'm going to micromanage the universe. I'm going to say, isn't it actually coming? And every time I do that, it means I'm sending out a signal vibrationally that I actually don't trust that it's coming. But if I have certainty, and I teach my clients about certainty, and they can really anchor in that kind of energy, that kind of vibration, they can ask for what they want. They can walk away, and then it shows up again. You collapse time. It shows up much more rapidly had they just asked for it and then kept on checking to see if it was still there. You know what I mean?
And you mentioned like, there's like, and that was a theme in the book, with all of these women's story, that, that there's trust, and then there's 100% trust, and then there's 85% trust. And
sure.
And I think you had said that you reached rock bottom. So I guess the only thing there was trust. There was, you had to, I'm guessing, that moment was kind of, you can only go up from here. I'm just going to trust and pray and be grateful and move up. But I'm, as so many people are struggling so much right now, if they haven't reached their rock bottom, I'm curious of that, because I do that, what you're saying, the micromanage the universe. I've said a prayer and now I'm just checking in now. Like this.
Yeah.
So there's a level of trust that isn't there yet. So it's interesting, to hear you say that, because there's one thing to trust your gut, but it's another thing to trust the universe's role and how it influences your gut, which I think, is very interesting. And I think something that a lot of people are probably, it's rare that somebody completely surrenders to the universe. And that's where,
well, that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard.
I'm not even going to act like it's not. It just
it is
kind of
hard.
difficult, but it's possible. It's attainable.
Yeah.
Repetition, clarity. When you're deliberate about something, you kind of don't give it an option. Like, okay, I was having this situation today, and this is me trusting. And I just launched a program. I got in the shower and I was thinking, okay, who would the version of me be if I had it all, if all my slots got booked? How would I be acting? Would I be checking my phone to see if I got an email coming in? Would I be waiting for my notification to go off? I wouldn't be doing that. So when I was in the shower, I was thinking, okay, if I'm worried about it, that means that I'm pulling the plug. I'm pulling the energetic plug because I don't believe that it's coming. So, okay, no, I do believe it's coming. So then let me try to embody the way I would feel if it had already happened. So I'd be excited. I'm celebrating right now. I'm so pumped. And not because it's phony, because if it already happened, why can't I not celebrate it? You know what I mean?
Right.
But every time I get in there and I show up that there's doubts, I kind of pull the plug each time out a little bit out of the socket. So it's I always ask myself, I try to remember to always ask myself, who would I be? How would I be showing up? How I would be communicating? How would I be just going about my day if I already had it? Because I already do have it. I'm just not fully awake to it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense, that the answers are within you. And, it's so true that when you are worried, it's kind of, it's totally different, but when somebody dies and they say, don't focus on the death, think about their soul moving on, because it doesn't help them move on when you think that way. I mean, it's totally different, but here it's kind of the same thing. I'm putting, if you're putting out a negativity, and right now energy is more important than ever, it seems, with misguided and, disconnected everybody seems to be. So I love that, because I think that's another tip and tool that people can use. They can say am I checking in on the universe? Am I checking the universe right now? Because you can kind of stop that behavior and and check yourself, right?
No. This has a lot to do with self-worth too, because it's I got to get really deep into my self-worth. Why actually don't I think I'm worthy of this? What kind of programming do I have? What kind of conditioning do I have? And this all stems from our childhood, our inner child, this wounding of not feeling good enough. And if we don't actually feel innately, inherently good enough, then no wonder we're going to be pulling the plug all the time, because we actually don't think we're deserving of it. So there's a lot of things we have to do around self-worth. And that's really just following your intuition and looking around you and being are these people in my life, are these situations a mirror for me? And, and that's what happened with me. It was just oh my gosh, what's showing up for me is that I actually don't value myself, because if I valued myself, I would have been a no for that, a no for that, a no for that, and a no definitely for that. So I got to get rid of that. And I have to learn how to be a human again. I have to reparent myself. I have to teach myself what I'm actually worthy of. Yeah. And I think that's really, that right there is the deepest work you can ever do, because you have to prove to yourself and you have to teach yourself all over again that you are worthy of receiving all these things. Because you can say it, you can try not to pull the plug, but if you don't believe it's going to happen subconsciously on a very deep vibrational level, it's not going to be you're not going to be an energetic match for it, because there is a part of you, your baseline emotion says, I don't deserve it anyway. You know?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, there's so many wisdoms that you've shared, and I've, been picking them up as a follower on your pages of things that you've been saying about that. Yeah. And people, forgetting their self-worth and how dangerous that can be, and at what point is it too much? You kind of have to ask yourself that, I myself have had experiences like that where I was in a bad relationship and I was having major health problems, and I could have lost my life because of it. And it took to that point
Yes.
yourself.
Builds. See?
Yeah. And I felt a connection in that part of your story in the book. And I really, it made me sad though, because I think, you know, gosh, this really happens to everybody and anybody. And we all think it's not going to be me. I'm not going to get stuck in a rut. I'm not going to let this go. And I think you kind of have to be your own cheerleader and, you know, fall in love with yourself. And in this new year, this is why we wanted to feature you, Nastasia, particularly in January, because
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
yes, because it's fall in love with yourself.
Yes.
Yes. And have a relationship with your own inner gifts, and put journaling into applying them, and listen to this podcast and think about, okay, am I getting chills? Is the energy feeling present? Is it feeling pure? Am I pushing something that's not right? You know, at what point do you stand up and be your own hero? And we see you as somebody doing that, and so inspiring. And I'm so honored that you shared your story today with us. I mean, it's just a piece of your story. Like, I'm not ready to end it, but
no, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
oh, thank you so much. And how can people get in touch with you? So if people are ready to manifest on a much higher level, how do they do that?
Actually, you can probably catch me on Instagram. I use that platform more than anything. It's The Art of Intuition. It's all one word. You can catch me on theartofintuition@gmail.com. If you want to send me an email, I'm open to receiving those too. I do communicate on Instagram the most, but you can find me on Facebook as well. It's The Art of Intuition. It's all one word. And intuition actually has 2 N's at the end on Facebook.
All right. Well, Nastasia, thank you so much. We are so grateful for your time today, and continue manifesting and doing beautiful things, and continue on as a Sisu leader. And we are sure to talk soon and cross paths.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Bye.